The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Okay, I think we'll go ahead and get started. Want to be conscious of everyone's time today. First off, thanks everyone for taking the time to attend today's webcast on our customer self-service portal from North 49 for Sage 300. My name is Jeff Merton. I'm a partner marketing manager here with Sage. And I do have a few logistical items before we get started today. A common question is this recording? I've already got a couple emails from people who couldn't make it asking if this is recorded. You should see a red dot somewhere on your screen that lets you know this is being recorded. So we will have an email out later this week or early next week with a link to both the recording as well as a PDF of the slides here today. And a couple other things, we will also be doing a few interactive polls today. So we'll be actually asking you for some feedback, and then we'll be sharing those results back with the audience so you can see what your fellow peers are answering as well. And if you do have any time for questions today, please put those in the chat or the Q&A window. And we've got Rob Eichhorn, who's actually the CEO, is going to be answering those questions in real time. So any questions, know that you'll be having an expert answering them for you. And with us today is Etienne Grobler. He's the product architect for this solution, and he's going to be taking us through a short deck, but he's really excited to get into the demo and show you the product in action today. So without further ado, I'd like to turn it over to Etienne to begin the presentation.
Thank you, Jeff. Good morning, good afternoon, everybody. As Jeff said, I'm really excited to get into the product. I think it is such a sweet product to demo. But for the sake of clarity, we've got a very short deck. We'll jump right into the first poll question. Going to hand it back to Jeff to take over the poll.
Sure, and I'm just launching that poll, just a one-click answer. And Etienne, are you seeing the poll or just a box on your screen?
I don't see it.
Okay, perfect. That's what we wanted to know. And we'll leave this open for a little bit. Thank you. See answers starting to come in, everyone. All right, I'm going to go ahead and close this, and I will share these results back with everyone. And 92% are saying yes, with only 8 saying no, Etienne. Thank you, everyone, for your answers. And should be back to you.
Thank you very much. I would like to start with a fairly famous quote, at least for us, and it comes from Jean-Philippe Senville, the Director of Business Innovation and Technology at the Business Development Corporation of Canada. And it simply says that businesses will wake up to a new reality when the crisis subsides. And speaking of the pandemic here, many new consumer behaviors displayed on a massive scale during the lockdown will become permanent. And that really was the driving force for us to launch the portal. The portal, technology-wise, has been around for many years as a integral part of our full e-commerce system called Webtelligence. But the pandemic drove businesses online at a pace which has not been seen before. And it became very clear very quickly that this wasn't a 2 or 3 week exercise. And I remember very distinctly when we left the office, it was kind of, yeah, see you guys in a couple of weeks. Well, 2 years later, that has changed. And habits were cultivated during this period, which customers just is not going to give up. And so what do they expect? It's commonly known as the Amazon effect. 12 years ago, we ordered a book from Jeff Bezos out of his garage. And here we are a little later where we just simply expect online business to happen. And that personal experience, that personal life is spilling over into the business life. And customers are more and more beginning to expect a certain level of self-service and 24/7 access on the web to their accounts and to the data on the web, doing business with you. What's in it for you? As a owner of a portal, you reduce your administrative overhead, and that literally, as you will see, goes everywhere from what's my account standing, or what is my status, reprint an invoice, pay my account online, check my order statuses, my order tracking, place an order online. All of that has now become an expectation. And it certainly reduces the administrative overhead for your staff. We have very clear examples where the return on investment was, in some cases, as short as 2 weeks by eliminating almost one full-time position. You get paid faster, always a huge benefit for cash flow, eliminate paperwork, save time and money. In deploying the portal, we can start as easy or as simple as a click-to-pay function, and I will speak to that in just a little while as we demo, or roll out the portal in a far more full-bodied, available access to everything type of application, including an optional quick order entry form. There are some enhancements to that which makes it fairly usable. It is not an e-commerce system. I will speak to that when we land up there, but it certainly does help to process orders fast. It was designed with simplicity and you in mind. When we designed this portal, we understood at all times during the design process that this is outward facing. It is your clients seeing this. They don't know Sage 300. They don't care what you run. They want a portal where they can log in and process simply. It is very much a set and forget application. Setup would take as little as half an hour, and your portal is up and running. And once all the components on that portal is set, you truly do forget about it. We integrate real-time into your Sage 300 application. So there's no export of data, there's no import of data. We do not store data on our side, and so there's no procedure which has to be done periodically in the mornings and the afternoons to get invoices up to the cloud, to get payments down. This is happening real time into your Sage 300 application. So it truly is set and forget. Once the application is up and running, once your portal is running, there is nothing you have to do to maintain that. If anything goes wrong on the portal, it's going to notify you that we have lost contact with you, and it's going to ask you to reset it. But it really just kind of takes care of itself. It is stable, as I mentioned earlier. It's been a part of our full e-commerce system for over 8 years. There are many of these installs out there. It is a mature product, and it is very, very stable. There's very deep customer portal capabilities. We would like to say that if data exists anywhere in your system, we can get hold of it and use that to serve your clients. And that would be anything from within your Sage 300, any SQL database, etc. So it is has in the very DNA of the portal, we understood that there would be requests to add functionality. And so even though it is what we call a multi-tenanted SaaS solution, in other words, everybody's running on the same version of the software at all times, and that is always compatible with the latest Sage 300 version, we did build in the functionality or the ability to customize and add functionality to the portal. It has configurable features through the merchant portal. The merchant portal simply is logging into your portal as a merchant or a merchant ID, and it's going to give you access to the back end of that portal. We believe that they're excellent user experience on any device, and I'll demonstrate that as we go along. And so with that said, let's take a look at the product. Would like to start off by speaking just briefly about Click-to-Pay. It is a great entry point into the functionality of the portal. As you may know, Click-to-Pay is your ability to put a link or a button or a unicorn somewhere on an email or a document or a PDF with an underlying link which allows your customer to click here and pay that particular document. So you can send out an invoice, and you can do that directly from within Sage. When you generate an email to send out an invoice, you can embed that link directly into that email. It will automatically generate that link for you. I've just mocked up one here as in a Word document, and it's addressed to Ronald Black and says, hey, invoice number 61, that amount, please click here to pay. And very simply, the client is going to click that button or that link. We're going to take them off to your portal, and they're going to pay that. Once the client reaches here, literally all they have to do is click the Pay Invoice button. And I say that up front because I want to pause here for just a second but also make you understand that, your client is oblivious to the conversation we are going to have now about functions here. And so really they're going to go ahead and pay the invoice, and I'll do that in just a second. I want to point out some functionality on this document right here. And much of this is controlled by you, whether you want to or do not want to allow that to be seen or used on the portal. Now, first of all, click to pay is not only an invoice as we've got here. So we've sent the user to the screen and we want him to pay invoice number 61. The amount outstanding is there. We can also prepay an order. We can prepay a quote. We can take an unallocated amount. In other words, your customer calls you up and they want to pay an invoice. The invoice is $1,000. They ask if they may pay you in 2 installments. You say, sure, go ahead and do that. And you could probably ask them to just come to this page or direct them to this page, tell them to do an unallocated payment, put in a reason there and make the payment. And that's going to go in as an unallocated cash receipt into your AR transaction list. Or likewise, pay an order. You have an order, and before you want to send that order into manufacturer, you want the customer to come and prepay that order, and you can go ahead and do that. So this functionality exists. You can turn it on and off if you choose to do that, but it is there. One other thing is the payment options that the customer has available to pay them. It's going to depend on the merchant, provider that you have. The Northland portal is agnostic in the merchant that it uses, so we will connect to your merchant. If it is any of the major transaction processors in the US, the chances are we're already connected to them. And this is going to depend on them. I cannot imagine that there would be a merchant that would not allow electronic check, EFT, or ACH processing to take place. But you can also control this on a user level or a customer level. So it is entirely possible for you to negotiate with the customer and say, we will give you an additional 5% discount, but you may only pay us via ACH, in which case you would indicate that in an optional field on the customer, and credit card payment will not appear as an option here for payment. Last thing on the screen to point out, we do have the ability to calculate and charge surcharges. And so it is entirely possible for you to have a contract with the client, say you may pay by credit card, but we will charge you a certain percent if you pay by credit card. This particular customer, we've set up that if he pays via credit card, we're going to charge him a 2.5% fee. And if he pays via ACH, we will change that to a $15 flat fee or flat processing fee. There is a space where you can put some sort of verbiage to tell them about it. In this case, a convenience fee of 2.5% on credit card payments, $15 on ACH will be charged. This is deployable by customer. That allows you the freedom to look at a particular customer and the contract that you may have with that customer. It will allow you to look at the area or the region this customer is in. So he's in California, please do not charge him the credit card fees. That would probably not go down well. And so we make this controllable to the nth degree. So with all of that then said, one more thing. If you do charge a surcharge, we will accurately process this into the system. And I will show that once we make this payment, that this payment's gone in, we will charge this to the relevant general ledger account. We will not leave a credit on this guy's account for this amount. So back 5 minutes, the customer has landed on this page. Really all they have to do is click the pay button. This particular portal is connected to Paya Payment Solutions, and we're just going to pay this using a MasterCard credit card, expiration date. Let's make this somewhere down there, and let's go ahead and process this. You will see that we've navigated away from the portal to take the payment. That leaves us on the right side of PCI compliance. And the next thing the customer sees coming back to him is his receipt. At this point, he can print a copy of this receipt if he chooses to do that. But there is also a number of notifications being generated and sent out in the background. So first of all, there is, of course, a email going out both to the customer and to you internally. And so here is mine as the merchant here. So it's addressed to my sales team. Your customer, Ronald Black, has paid this invoice. We charged him that surcharge. He used this MasterCard, etc. So there's immediate notification going out via email, both to you as the merchant and to the customer. We also integrate into 2 instant messaging systems. The first of those is a system called Teams, or Microsoft Teams, which you may be familiar with. So within Teams, we create or have the ability to send a notification to Teams. So you'll go ahead and create, in this case, we created a specific team for portal notifications. It allows us to put into that team whoever needs to receive notifications of any type. And we've created channels. And so within each channel, we can then connect the people that needs to take care of those notifications coming through. For example, the contact us form on your portal. Somebody fills in the contact us form. They want to communicate something with you. It's going to come through in that channel. And whoever is addressed or attached to that channel now going to get notified. We also create one for portal accounts receivable. And here is you would have seen there's a notification here, and here is the notification we've just received that customer Ronald Black has paid invoice number 61 for that amount of money. And so the notifications are going to come through very rapidly. It's instantaneous. There's no delay. You don't have to wait till tonight until you know what's going on your system. It was processed immediately. We likewise attached to an instant messaging system called Slack. Slack does very much the same thing. Teams create channels. The integration is dead simple, and there are free versions of Slack available, which will do just fine for what you want to do here. And so we highly kind of encourage that. Go ahead and create the Slack and get these notifications immediately. Let's very quickly go and look at Sage and see what happened to this in the background. Remember, we said that we are integrating real time. So we expect if we go and look at the receipt batch that this entry is there. And so here we go on today's date. The portal has entered a transaction, and we can pop that up. And here we've got this, okay, a receipt being processed, invoice number 61. And as I said, we take care of that fee by processing an adjustment against the account. And if we have a look at that adjustment went to a distribution code, posting into the general ledger wherever you wanted, and it's going to apply that appropriately or correctly against that. So your general ledger posting is going to happen accurately on the portal. You tell us what the distribution code is that we should use to process that with, and that's what we're going to use to process. So this is under your control, posted into the general ledger as you see fit at that point. So there is our entry having just been made. The cycle is complete. Go over here, everybody's been notified, and this transaction has been processed. Just for clarity, because we're processing directly into Sage, we do, of course, have the ability now, if the customer happens to go back and click this again, we are simply going to notify him that that document is no longer available for payment. And so, again, bearing in mind that the customer is looking at that, they do not care that we are running a batch processing system here. All they need to know is that this document has been paid, and indeed it has been paid. And so we're going to avoid duplicate processing, and the documents are being read real time, validated real time, and so we're going to take care of it, even if that document sits in a receipt batch ready to post. We are going to know about it, and we are going to direct the client appropriately. Now let's have a look at the customer portal in a little bit more detail. Just on the screen, very quickly, we do allow a substantial amount of real estate on the top of the screen where your logo is going to be, or your image or graphics. There's sufficient space here so that you can, Sage Corporation, do business with us because, we are the best in the world. use this to assist in marketing the company, assist in brand identification, etc. This is under your control. Very easy to add new images here. We made it specifically so that you could even do seasonal kind of advertising or promotion at the top here. Welcome message, absolutely under your control. The welcome message under your control. Registration will take place in a several number of formats, everywhere from you receiving an email saying please add me as a user through to self-registration. We will ask a security question. That security question could be what's your zip code, what's your last invoice number, what was the amount of your last payment, etc., as validation that this customer is who they say they are. We do enforce strict password control. It is encrypted. We cannot retrieve it. You cannot retrieve it. If the customer loses his password, there's a reset function which takes them through a procedure to reset. So we are focused on security, making sure that the portal and its data remains intact. Even when the customer does that, you have the option to either then, if they answer the question correctly, give them access to the portal, or it will send you an email saying the customer has registered waiting for your approval, and you can log in and approve the user. The URL that the portal runs under would be a URL you specify. So if you are sage.com, you would probably subdomain that, make it portal.sage.com or login.sage.com, or however you want to do that. That is entirely up to you. The URL is going to be the URL you assign to it. And so there's familiarity and a certain level of comfort with the customer when they look at the portal that they are actually in the correct spot. We currently have 2 languages. We have both English and French portals. We are working on a Spanish version, which should be released fairly soon. And that's going to give us the yet another language. We are keen to work with anybody that wants to deploy that. We deployed the same model of language overlay as you will find within the Sage 300 product, and so it really is easy for us to deploy a new language here. Let's go ahead and log in. When a customer logs in, they potentially see one or both of 2 messages. And we created these so that we can allow your interaction with the client to be personalized, if you will. And the first one of those messages comes directly out of Sage 300. So a message is going to pop up. This is Dan Penn. Dan is logging in, and we're telling him that his application for extended terms have been approved. And these messages could be, happy birthday, Dan. Have you seen our summer special lineup, etc.? And so this can be personalized or used for whatever purpose you want to do. And what we do here is within Sage 300, we use the comment field on the customer to relay those messages. So let's go and have a look at Dan Penn's customer here. And so there's a comment field here. And we are going to use this comment to pop up. And if there's a comment with the type web, we're going to pop that comment up as Dan logs in. So here is the message to Dan Penn: your application or extended terms have been approved. And so that is the comment which Dan Penn sees. So you are communicating with your customer directly out of your Sage 300 system. Let's go ahead, and Dan then says, okay, I've seen that. Let's go back here. We'll just navigate away and back to the customer and refresh the data. And we've now changed the comment type from web to web acknowledged or WebAck. And so you know that Dan has seen that message and Dan has clicked OK on it. And of course, we will build a history here. So it's not just one message. If I go ahead and add another one with web here, it's going to see that. You may want to make the first message. If you click OK, you accept our terms and conditions, etc. So you have a record that the customer has accepted the terms. You have a record that the customer has seen the message that has popped up for them. The second message which potentially can pop up is what we call a broadcast. A broadcast differs from an individual message that when you put a broadcast in place, everybody logging in is going to see that broadcast. Once again, once I acknowledge that broadcast, it's not going to pop up again. So I've acknowledged both those messages. I'm just going to log out here and log back in again, and none of those messages are now going to appear because I've acknowledged both of them. Let's go and have a look at the portal. The ability of the client, and each one of these icons you may turn on and off. So within your administration login, you can turn these functions on and off by simple check marks, and I will show that to you when we get into the admin portal. Let's have a look at account activity. It's really just a snapshot of the account. Again, do remember that we are reading this real time, and so when the user clicks that button, we are fetching this data from your Sage 300 system. We're putting it up on the screen. The system was designed in its absolute entirety to run across any platform that you choose to run this on. So looking at this through my computer screen, I can get this kind of view. When I look at this, perhaps on a tablet, you'll see that, the menu is now adjusted, so the pay account is dropped in, underneath each other to accommodate a smaller screen size without reducing the image which the customer is seeing. And if he is viewing that on a cell phone, it's still going to be usable to him as well. And the menu has now been replaced with what we expect, which is what's called a hamburger menu. And so the customer can still use this application regardless of the device that he is on. So account activity is going to give him, your balance summary, who am I, your last payment, your last invoices, just a really quick summary of his account. View transactions. Going to allow the customer to have a look at his transactions. And far back in history, as you allow, remember, we don't upload or download data, so this data is being read real time. So as much as you have there to show him, he's going to be able to drill down into number of transactions per page. Show all or open only. Open only is only going to list the transactions with a current balance. All is going to show him all transactions, even if they have been fully applied. Limit the transaction type, for example, to just invoices. And this list of transactions that the customer can see, you can likewise adjust within your portal. So if, for example, you don't do interest, then just remove it and it's not going to be able to see interest. When the customer looks at this, he can drill down into a particular document, and we will find the original source of that document and display the document from that source. So if it's an order entry document, we're going to drill down into order entry and find it. And if you look at the URL up here, you can actually see that. We looked, so the order source here is order entry. So we went and we found the document in order entry, and we're displaying it to him from order entry. If this was an AR summary invoice, we're going to show him an AR summary invoice. If it was an AR detail, etc., etc. So we will go find the original source. And of course, at this point, as we expect, we want the client to be able to print a copy of this document or save it as a PDF or do whatever they want to do with this document. So we want the customer to self-serve on that document as they go ahead and view it. When they look at a receipt type of document, we will, where possible, go and find the application of that receipt, and we will show it to them. So if we drill down into a receipt document, we will show them that it was applied to that invoice, that number, etc., etc. So we do show the customer what is happening in the background with their account. Let's go ahead. As we look at pay account, let's very briefly look at the ability for the customer to store a credit card so they can reuse it. I want to make this abundantly clear. We never store a credit card. We store what's called a token or a good, and that is a identifier returned by your processing vault back to us, and we can store that, and the customer can then process using that. We do not ever touch a credit card. We stay absolutely on the right side of PCI compliance here, and so that your data is secure and safe. When you do use a processor which is integrated directly into Sage, you also have the option to store the credit card directly into Sage so that you can use it. So here we have a customer, Dan Penn. He has one credit card, Visa. If we go back and have a look at Dan's account back here again, here is that one credit card, Visa. When we give him a delete button, we will never delete a credit card record directly. So what we do is we flag it as inactive, and so Dan cannot see that credit card here anymore, but you as a merchant can see that credit card here, and the status here will just simply be inactive. You may be busy with a transaction, you may have an authorization sitting against an order, and you do not want to remove this card, and so you can continue using that as processing. I hope this kind of explains the detail to which we think these things through and the usability both for the customer without losing an eye on how this is going to benefit your organization and make your work easier on your side of the fence. So we do have the ability, you can turn this on and off, you can tell us where to put the card token once we've got it. As I say, we do not store the card, we store the token only, so we are remaining on the right side of PCI compliance. And it is really a handy function. If you do not believe that your customers will appreciate being able to store the cards, if there is some level of security which you want to enforce, then of course you don't allow it, and they'll have to enter their card every time they make a payment. Let's go have a look at making a payment. When we do process a payment, we will bring up all the outstanding transactions. Customer can, of course, just go ahead and say, select all and go ahead and pay that, or they can pay individual documents. So I'm going to pay, $24.39 and $52 here, just so we can go back and have a look at how that panned out for us on the other side. You optionally have the ability to allow them to override the amount if you wish. Worthy of a conversation, we would also always make an argument, don't do it. Let him contact you if a customer has a problem with the document, sort it out. Because the moment they override it, or the moment you allow them to override it, they put the ball in your court for reconciliation, picking up the phone, asking them, why did they not pay the 35 cents on this document? But it is necessary in certain environments to do that, so you do have the ability to turn this on and off to override that amount, yes or no. Customer goes ahead and clicks, I want to pay. If they did allocate a default card here, that's going to come up. If they want to use a new card, they can do that. If you allow them to store the card, they can click that. If there's a check or ACH payment, they can do that. There is an option that you can set a maximum amount payable by credit card. If it exceeds that amount, then simply the only option they're going to get here is to pay via check or ACH. We will process that into a different receipt batch and accounts receivable. So as far as it is possible for us to coordinate our closing with that of what your processor is going to do, we want to assist in the reconciliation, what's coming in and going out of your bank. And so we will put these things into different accounts. We are multi-currency. We will look at the AR account and glean the currency from that account and then process the card in the appropriate currency. Okay, so here we are. We've processed, we've calculated the fee on this customer. Again, if it goes ACH, that fee turns to a flat $15 fee. If we use our preferred card, it's going to calculate that out. Because we now have the card, there's no need to take this customer over to where they fill in the card number. So he clicks pay account, and the next thing he's aware of is he's going to get his receipt, of which he can print a copy. You have been notified that there's been a payment made on this side. There are a million emails going to and fro at this point. We're getting notified. The customer is getting notified. Hello, Dan Penn, you've paid. Thank you very much. Everybody's happy the payment has been processed. So payment processing is happening real time. If we go back here, let's go and call up our batch again. And there will now be another entry in our batch telling us that those 3 invoices have been paid. And there you go. And so there is nothing for you to do. This is going straight into your accounts receivable system. All you need to do is run your normal day and procedure at the end of the day, and it's going to happen. The fees are getting processed appropriately. So if we look at all of these, we can see what the adjustment amounts are, or the fees against them. If we look at that adjustment again, it's gone into that surcharge distribution code or the distribution code which you created and entered on your merchant account or merchant portal as to where those fees should be processed into your general ledger. Let's go back here, have a final look at payments, and I just want to briefly look at prepayments. Again, want to stress these are things you turn on and off as you need them. I'm going to make 2 really quick ones just to kind of prove the point. You want the customer to just pay a deposit or a prepayment or a retainer, or for whatever reason you want to make an allocated payment. It is because Jeff told me to do this, and Jeff said I need to, and I'm going to leave that spelling mistake there. I did that on purpose, by the way. So I'm going to process and make this payment quickly. My usual options are going to come in here. I'm just going to go ahead and make the payment, flip back over here, and in my receipt batch, open that up. And we're going to see that payment. You can hear my phone and everything else telling me that there's notifications. Here is that unallocated cash transaction being processed in immediately. Let's go back. When I prepay an order, let's pay order number 75. There's an amount of $419 on that order. I'm going to very quickly prepay order number 75. Go back here, as you may expect, order number 75, prepay against the order number, $411, order number 75. Let's go have a look at order number 75, because it will really not complete the transaction effectively if it did not notify me that the order has been prepaid. So if we pull up this order over here, have a quick look at order number 75. And order number 75 now has a prepayment of $419 against it. The outstanding order amount is 0. So we do take care of proper processing within the ERP system. Okay, enough about payment processing. Let's move on to orders. If you do want to control order entry from here, of course, just turn on the icons. We have probably our largest portal users do not have order entry at all. I want to stress that because the target here is if you have accounts receivable, the portal is a good fit for your organization. If you do use order entry, it expands that usability so much. But we do have major insurance companies, legal companies that wants to serve up white papers, wants to take retainers on client accounts without having to do that, and they can do that here. We do have the concept of a user called a salesperson. A salesperson is somebody that can log in and then take over, if you will, or transact on behalf of somebody. So a salesperson could be out on the road with his cell phone, have access to his customer's account, sitting at the customer, and take a prepayment on a contract, for example, or process an order for that customer on the fly as they go. A salesperson can be limited to have access only to his own accounts, of which he is one of the salespeople on that AR account, or you can create a super user that simply has access to your entire AR system. So let's have a look at order entry then, if that is part of your organizational structure. View orders, we did build in a huge amount of functionality here, and so I'll briefly try and touch on all of that. At the top, of course, orders per page, show all or open only, the order types you want to show by order or show by item. Show by item is simply going to give the user a list of back-ordered items. So what do I have on back order? And of course, the document numbers here, I can click through and understand what's going on that document. In the grid here, the document number, of course, date description, PO status. We do give you the option for us to either just simply look at the order and read the status real-time from that document, or we give you the option to show an optional field here. So if you want to expand on what your order status is, and that could be got your order, orders looking for approval, orders being approved, orders gone into manufacturer, being shipped in 2 days, whatever that might be, the status will then reflect that optional field. On here, we can simply drill down into a document and get a quick view of that document. Or, of course, we can drill down right into that document. And here I'm drilling into a quote. And I can, of course, at this point, go ahead and print myself a copy of the quote, PDF it, do whatever I want to do with that quote. So I'm staying up to date with what happens here. If a document has shipped, we will show you all the relevant related documents to that shipment. So if there were multiple invoices, we're going to show them here. We do show you the tracking number, and we will allow you the ability to track through on that order. If a document has a tracking on line level, we will show you that information on line level. So the invoice here was invoice number 52, which was generated off that order. We'll show you the relevant information on here. And of course, from here, you can drill down into order 52 and print yourself a copy of that if you choose to do that. Hurrying along here just a little bit, we do allow you to turn on the ability for a customer to look at quotes and even to post a quote rather than post an order. And so that would be an RFQ, a request for quote kind of environment that you may want to create on the system. And it will work like this. Customer wants 3 widgets. They post an RFQ, post a quote. They ask you for a price on 3 widgets. That document comes through. We use an optional field that says we're going to look at it, and the status for quote 11 here shows up as waiting for approval. So we've received your RFQ. We have not approved that RFQ yet. Quote number 12, RFQ for a new building project that the customer filled in when they sent that through to us. They asked for those. We've approved that quote. We've flicked the switch. That has now been approved. Because it's been approved, the customer can now go and self-turn that into an order. So quote number 12, let's confirm quote number 12 as an order. The system is going to go ahead and it's going to generate an order for us, and the order was 77. So if we go back here and we look at our system, then order number 77, RFQ for new quote, RFQ for new quote was quote number 12, has now been turned into an order, and here is that order processed in our system. And so the user now has the ability to go ahead, and of course at this point, they can go ahead and print themselves a copy of the quote, etc. And let's just simply refresh our screen here very quickly. Document number 77 or order number 77 has now been processed, and it's now awaiting shipment. The RFQ for that building project, quote number 12, order has now been created. Because an order has been created, I can drill down and see what the order number was. And of course, from here, I can go ahead and drill down to that order. So sitting behind the order view, there's a huge amount of functionality which you may or may not choose to deploy. This ability to turn things into orders or not, we've actually broken down. Do you want to allow it, yes or no? Do you want to allow it only for a salesperson, so only a salesperson can affect this, or any user logging into the system can do this? With that, then let's rush through and get to order entry. Order entry, and again, bear in mind this can, will operate very nicely on a cell phone, so it can be used on a cell phone. We want to make it simple and easy, so you can slide the header out of the way when you're busy processing. These are all the ship to addresses attached to a customer, or they can give you a new address. This, of course, is going to post into order entry as the ship to address, right? A PO number, request the date for delivery, a ship via code. We understand that this is very commonly inward facing, so we do give you the option whether you want to show that, yes or no. Comments for shipping, please ship ASAP. Let's just give it a PO number and a requested delivery date. And let's move it. Let's slide that out of the way, and let's have a look at order processing. There are 3 levels of details that you can show. The first, very simply, is this. I want to very simply just show, a line item running across as I go ahead and process. There is the option to override the price if you are a salesperson, or if you want to open this up. We have non-profits fundraising using the portal, and so we'll allow them to override the price so that they can determine the donation, for example. So there's some sort of sensibility. Typically, you probably wouldn't want your client to override the price as they place the order. So that's level 1. Very simply, just go through and process these things as they go ahead. Level number 2 will be the additional information in the 4 additional item lines in inventory control. So it'll look like this as we're processing. Let's go ahead and process 2 of these guys. and add that to the order. So we will additionally increase the amount of information. And then, of course, the third level is we do give you the option to store images either locally or on, so we will store them on the portal, or you can store them somewhere in your system where we can get at them. And we will then show images or multiple images for these products. So we're getting fairly close here to being able to create a fairly sensible order entry system for your customers on the web. Let's go ahead and order 3 of those. And so I've specifically 1, 2, 3 here, so we can check this going through into order entry. We've processed this. Again, we don't store any information. And so the information we show here, we will extract from the item SKU number. We'll extract from the item description, the 4 additional item information lines. And then optionally, if you want to turn that on, if you are using customer item numbers, we're going to find the item based on this customer, who is and how is logged in. We honor every single pricing model within your ERP system. So within Sage 300, price list, pricing discounts, contract pricing, special pricing, whatever you will see in processing this order on inside of Sage, the customer is going to see here. We do allow you to override that with a default kind of a retail price if you choose. And we will honor the items on the price list. So if you want to narrow down the number of items a customer can buy on the portal, for example, you sell generators, and so all you can buy on the portal are spare parts, then we will look at the price list that you have assigned to both the customer and or the portal, and if it does not appear on that price list, it will not appear by search here. And so we are still reading this data as we were processing here real time out of your system. Place an order, place a quote. Remember, we said you can turn these off, so by and large, you're not going to have a place a quote here. Place the order, go ahead and drive the order. Remember, our last order processed was 77, so this is going to be order number 78. Customer can have a look at the order, yada, yada, do all they want to do. We ordered 1, 2, 3 of those items. We go back to our desktop here, and order number 78 has now been processed. We do tell you that it was entered on the portal by the username. You have the option to post it on hold or not, so you can just validate this order, take it off hold for processing. Again, a whole bunch of notifications taking place here. So if we go back here, we can see portal OE, and we can see that customer 1600 has placed this order. So notifications are going through, emails are being sent out, and we send a pigeon out to go warn the guy that there is an order for him. We do flag it. We do mark these orders as entered by electronic commerce. And so if you want to see which orders or documents has come in that you need to take care of, fire up your searcher here or the finder, and simply say to your finder, I want all documents where the order source equals electronic commerce, and you're going to see a list of the documents that were generated by the portal and entered into your system. I think that just about takes us through the portal from a customer point of view. There is, of course, a contact us form here, which they can have a look at. This contact us is going to post through directly into both an email and notifications going out. Dan can have a look at his account. He's attached to 1600. He cannot change that. Because, of course, we don't want him to start typing in random numbers and getting access to the wrong accounts. But he certainly can change all of the detail that's on here. There's a password change for him to change. And let's go ahead and log out. So that was the customer view of the portal. That's what they experience as they go through. Let's go ahead and log in just very quickly as a salesperson, and I won't spend too much time on that. So when a salesperson logs in, what the salesperson is going to see is a search bar for the customer, and he's going to have access to the customers which he has control over unless you made him a super user. We will search the SKU, the customer number, customer name, customer email, customer phone number, so it becomes really easy to deal with a customer. And finally, let us log in here as an administrator. When I log into my own portal as administrator, I'm going to get somewhat of a snapshot here. It's just going to tell me, what documents are processed. Today, we paid 4 documents. That was the total amount, month to date, year to date. And I'm going to look at this both on the number of transactions taking place or the amounts being processed, so I can see the activity on my portal. I can see how many people are logging into my portal. And let's just quickly go through here. Customers, users are going to allow me to control users, turn them on and off, activate, deactivate them. We have our broadcast message, if you remember that one. We do have a very comprehensive search for transactions, so that you don't get a call saying I made it a payment and it did not come through. So we're going to show you all the transactions here. Remember, today we made a bunch of them. So first of all, we paid document number 61. Then we went ahead and paid those 3 guys there. We made an unallocated cash because Jeff told us to do that. And then we've got a order prepayment here. We do allow the search here to be fairly substantial. So if we want to find, anything paid for document number 61, it's going to pop up in our Finder very easily. So we are able to track what's happening and be able to answer when necessary. In terms of portal settings, very quickly, how do you want to register the portal down to? Do you want to use the allow on web flags? So if you want to turn that on and disable certain customers from logging in. My security question that we're going to ask, we're going to validate that against the AR account when the account gets generated. Remember our logo and how easy it is for just us to just simply go and upload a new logo. So currently our logo here is the North 49 portal. Let's just change our logo to be the Sage 300. And so if we go ahead and save the changes here, we are now on the Sage 300 Cloud logo. So we really want to make this easy because we want you to use that as a brand identity, promotion, etc. Our default language on the portal, our address, which is going to appear at the bottom of the screen over here, your company information, your welcome message over here or under your control. Go have a look at portal settings. I said you can turn anything on and off by checkboxes. Here you go. What type of prepayments would you like? Turn them on and off if you want to. If you turn them off up here, they're just all going to disappear. Where do you want to store your credit cards? If you do want to store them, how would you like order status by, based on the shipment and invoice status, or use an optional field, document types that you want to show, etc., and the URL at the bottom of the screen here. I'm rushing through it a little bit so we can ask 1 or 2 more questions at the end. Company information, very simple. That's going to appear on all your documents. Payment processing. We spoke about the maximum payment amount that you can enter. We spoke about allowing partial payments. There is a space here where you can put in some sort of verbiage. We spoke about the surcharge, fees and surcharges, distribution code, and a message that you can put in there, and then your payment processor at the bottom there. Notifications, we spoke about the various types of notifications. So a technical contact, hey, we cannot get access to your system, can go out via email or an email distribution group, of course. So it doesn't have to go to a person, can go to a group of persons. Your integration with Slack, your integration with Teams, and which ones of these do you want turned on. And it's really easy to do this. So if you do have Slack, you click the button. It's going to log you into your Slack account. It's going to say in which channel do you want this specific notification for technical support to go. You click the allow button. It's going to generate what's called a webhook. You paste that in here and voila, you're done. And so this is all really dead simple. And then finally, order entry and how you want to control order entry and how it should and should not work. Let me log out at this point, and I'm going to start wrapping this up by just getting my presentation back into my view, if I can see it over here. And we will fire right off with another poll. And it took me back to the beginning. And Jeff, if I can hand this over to you for this poll question.
Absolutely. I will launch that right now. Thanks, NTNA. And that is now launched to the audience. And thanks for bringing me into the presentation there at TNA. It felt very important since I was approving.
It makes it real, right? So it's not smoke and mirrors. We didn't set this up before the poll. It is a real-time integrated solution. It works well, and it's good to demo it that way, right?
Absolutely. And thanks. I'm seeing answers come in. I'll leave it open for just a few more minutes. Please, if you don't mind taking a second to click one of those options on the screen, we would greatly appreciate it. All right, I'm going to go ahead and close the poll and share the responses back. Thanks everyone for taking a second there. And let's see here, since Etienne cannot see it, we've got 50% with 1 to 3 hours, followed by 25% with less than 1 hour, 13% more than 3 hours, and 13% with don't know, but it's too much.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Jeff. Is control back with me?
Ed is back with you.
Thank you for filling in that poll question. And from this point, it's a simple calculator math to get return on investment. One specific issue which we do want to point out is that in terms of customer retention, an online self-serve portal is going to be a huge contributor towards customer satisfaction. So you have both the cost savings and cost benefit to you running it for your internal processes, but you also have customer satisfaction. Oh, sorry, the 2020 phrase of the year, I'm on mute. I do apologize for that. Thank you for answering that question. It's now a calculator option to just simply calculate what the return on investment would be. And so we do have both those concepts here of the cost benefit to you as an organization of running that, but very clearly a customer retention, customer satisfaction issue on the other end to actually go ahead and run a customer portal. As we wrap up, not all portals are created equal. We do know that some of the processors will offer you a free portal. That free portal is going to expect you to export your documents every day or every morning or every hour, depending on how busy you are. The customer can log in. They can see that specific document if the portal is kind of okayish. Nothing apart from that. They can pay that, and they expect you to import those transactions back into your system. And so very clearly, not all portals are created equal. It's more than just an online payment system. We give you access to all the customer documents, order entry, order tracking, etc. We have the ability to add surcharges, which we have not seen in any payment portal. That alone could be a cost center or cost benefit for you. We will take prepayments on account, which no other portal will do. We control the payment methods and the payment amounts by customer. There's no import to export. There is no data on our system. Nothing can be stolen, so it is absolutely secure. It's real-time access into, say, 324 access, and then we do have access to any data. So should you see an opportunity if I offer this to my customer, that would be a great benefit. A good example, if you do run order entry, is we have created a standing order, which is somewhat similar to Amazon login. I want you to ship me a pack of batteries every 2 weeks. And we use standing orders for that, allow the customer to create standing orders and tell you on a line level when they want specific items shipped and on what interval. And just before we close off, I'm going to add back to Jeff for one more poll question, and then we're going to show our contact information and take it from there.
Thanks, Etienne. And the last poll is launched, so if everyone would mind doing one last poll, we would greatly appreciate it. And thanks everyone, seeing answers come in here. And I'm going to go ahead and close and share this back. And it looks like 89% are taking about 10 minutes per payment, but then we've got the other remaining 11% way too long. It's killing our productivity.
Awesome. Thank you very much. The fee structure, the portal product is available only through Sage. It is a Sage endorsed product. Please contact your dealer. They will arrange that for you. Typical setup time is very quick. We've automated the onboarding process, so it happens semi-automatically. Here are the fees. A couple of notes. There's a one-time setup fee of $175 US to 200 Canadian. We do require one Sage 300 license. All our interaction with the Sage system in the background goes very strictly through the Sage technology. It safeguards us from corrupting your system. In order for us to do that, we consume a Sage license as we go through. And then finally, mindful of your time, thank you very much. Here is our contact information. There will be, the slide deck will be made available as well as the recording, and I'm sure Jeff will speak to that. Please feel free to contact us as well, but your dealer should be able to help you. We do have a very comprehensive knowledge base, which is available online, which deals literally from everything to a manual setup environment, through to frequently asked questions. So our support is aimed at being reactive to requests coming in. We know it's an important function. If you're up and running, it needs to be running 24/7, and so we are available to help at any point in time. Thank you very much, Jeff.
Great. Etienne, thanks so much for the presentation. Fantastic demo, especially because I was a part of it. But no, really a lot of great information there. I think our audience got a lot out of that. As you mentioned, I will be sending out an email later this week or early next week with the slide deck and a link to the recording from today. With that, any closing comments, Etienne?
Thank you, everyone. I do apologize. I've stolen 3 minutes of your time. Really appreciate you being here. And as I said, please feel free to contact us if you have any further questions.
Great. Thanks so much. And this concludes today's webcast. Everyone have a great rest of your day. Thank you.